fronte a te, o sole mio, sto fronte a te, sto fronte a te.
Stay tuned for highlights from the Annapolis Boat Show, the race to profitability, and most importantly, who won the contest. Hectic doesn't begin to describe the last couple of weeks. So I've been to Maryland twice in the last 18 days. I've been to conferences, I've been to the Annapolis Boat Show.
Annie's beginning to sound like me. What did you just say, Annie?
I feel like we should have special badges. Like
Badges?
What? Badges.
We don't need those stinky
Maybe that's
badges.
Keelin.
We're headed back to Annapolis in another week to finalize everything before departure. So I'll have been across the country 3 times in 3 weeks. Different hotels, different towns, and I've been working most of the time. So it's been tiring, and I haven't been able to put out as many videos as I'd like. So what's happened? Just a brief update. The solar panels on the coach roof are done. They look amazing. The boat did make it to the Annapolis Boat Show. We did finally make it out, although we missed our flight. I got to meet the president of Beneteau Group and talk to him about my experience and some of the supply chain issues. I spent a long time talking with the president of Lagoon and learning about things that are in the pipeline for Lagoon Catamarans, and I have to say they're pretty impressive. I spent time hanging out with Bobby White. Bobby came by our boat. We talked for a while. Bobby was there when we presented our winner? Yes, Gabe. So Gabe won the cabin for the Heineken Regatta. So Gabe's going to be coming with us. Gabe is pretty cool. I actually met Gabe during the show, and he scanned the back of my shirt, and he entered right in front of me. He subscribed to the YouTube channel. And here you can see Annie and I actually picking the winner. And one of the amazing things to me was we had 20,000 views for that contest, and we ended up getting almost 2,000 subscribers from that contest, but only 67 people actually entered the contest. It wasn't that hard. You had to click a link, you had to put in your email address, and you had to say you were a YouTube subscriber. That was it. But only 67 people entered. Kind of surprised about that. But nonetheless, Gabe won. So congratulations, Gabe. And it still overall looked like it was an effective tool for getting the word out about our channel. So I'm happy about that too. And I'm really happy to have someone who's so excited to be in the race coming with us. Gabe and I actually talked. Here's pictures of us talking the day before when he actually entered the contest. He was up front with me. I was going over the solar install and explaining to people why we'd added solar and showing people around the boat, which I did for 5 days. During those 5 days, I met probably 100, 150 really interested buyers, people who are in the final phase of a purchase. I met about another 200 people who are considering it, and they're kind of more like my friend Harry. Harry and his new wife, Jill, went to the Annapolis Boat Show last year, and they're also Navigare owners now. Now, here's the amazing part. Harry actually bought his boat 9.5 months before we bought ours, and his hasn't come through yet. Now, that isn't that Harry made a mistake, it's that we picked our boat up last minute. And this leads into what today's episode's going to cover. I'm going to talk about the race to profitability, or at least the race to recovering the money you put in. Now, I've mentioned before about bonus depreciation, and there's a specific section of the tax code, and a lot of people know that bonus depreciation is beginning to go away. It's being phased out over the next 5 years. What bonus depreciation allows you to do, if your income is adequate, is it allows you to depreciate an asset at the time of acquisition for business equipment. a boat is business equipment. We use this equipment to make money through chartering. It's also fun for us, and we get some fringe benefits, but the primary reason for having it is the bonus depreciation allows us to deduct against active income. There are other requirements. I'm not an accountant. I've talked about it before. You have to be in active management of the asset. You have to be a business person. You can't just put it into passive. There's a lot of these guaranteed programs that are great, but they don't provide you that particular tax benefit to qualify it against active income. So Harry bought his a year ago. I bought mine in August. So we've only had that $200,000 tied up for 2 months, the down payment, and it will begin to go into work in 6 weeks. So we already have charters on the site. I'll put up a link. Please charter it. It's an amazing opportunity. It's the best charter boat out there. I'm not kidding. If you're looking for something for your family, for a group of maybe 6 people, where one of you wants a nicer cabin and is willing to kind of either pick up all of the tab or a little more of the tab to get the amazing owner's suite that we have, charter it. So Navigare doesn't recommend buying an owner's version, by the way, for charter. This despite the fact that the owner's versions do pretty well in charter. But over time, I think the idea is that there's a lot of people who really want the extra cabin and want to defray costs by the per person cost going down. For me, chartering a catamaran is a luxury, and I want to have a luxurious experience, and the owner's cabin affords me that, while my guests still get a really great cabin. And it's still affordable. It's not the worst ever in terms of cost. The advantage also with having fewer people on the boat is the tender. Now, we upgraded our tender substantially, and the tender still really only holds 6 people. So if you put 8 people on a boat, you're kind of motoring into town or port or whatever, and you're all crammed on a relatively small dinghy, and it's pretty hard to get more than 6 people. So you're either doing back and forths, or you're doing all this other stuff to get people ashore, or not everybody's going ashore at the same time. And that gets into all the other logistics. I prefer to travel in smaller groups, and I know there are people out there like me who don't want to do things by committee. Now, Annie and I actually chartered a 46-footer last year for our honeymoon. Actually, it was this year, but we chartered it last year, but we took it out in January and February. And that 46-footer with an owner's cabin was really luxurious. We didn't use the other half of the boat, but we really wanted the space, and a monohull doesn't give you that. I'm going to put up some video of us actually sailing down the Chesapeake, and you'll see, you know, it was a cold day. It was 55 degrees. There was a good breeze, and we sat in the saloon and sailed safely, sailed comfortably with amazing visibility. I actually say 365 degree visibility in the video. It was a long day. I got up super early. You'll have to forgive me. It was actually our first night sleeping on board. We actually slept in the Annapolis, what's called Ego Alley, which I thought was hilarious. But where they put the big boats is called Ego Alley, and we were down wedged in there, and that's why it took us so long to get out. But nonetheless, we were sailing down, and it was cool and brisk, and I was outside for probably 2 or 3 hours of that trip. However, I ate lunch inside. I didn't have to eat lunch exposed in a cockpit with like a fair breeze blowing over me, and I was safe. I had the navigation system up. I had AIS running. The radar isn't installed yet. That's going in this week. So let's get back to the race. If you're investing in a charter boat because you think it's the way to make the most money, you're definitely paddling upriver. The purpose of the race to profitability is simply to be able to use the boat you want for the least amount of money invested. As I've talked about previously in the trailer, I'm a physician, I'm a dad, I might get 6-8 weeks a year that I could spend out on the water on a charter boat. That's it. The idea here is to maximize profitability and minimize cost while sailing on exactly the boat I want to sail on. So before I threw up scenarios of a bunch of different boats, you saw the Bella Giornata, you saw 4 other boats. You saw what Navigare suggests. Navigare wants you to come in, put a deposit down, wait 18 months. They sit on your $200,000. At current interest rates, that could be $14,000 a year in interest on the 200, or about $28,000 in interest before the boat starts making you any money. Also, I've talked about bonus depreciation. Bonus depreciation's going away. The longer you wait, the less of a cash return up front you're going to get. Now remember, this is just tax you're not paying now against a future loss. So if you want more cash and you want to pay less in tax to the government up front, that's great. It's not free money, it's just access to liquidity. Now the other 4 boats are all purchased around the same time, and as you can see, they all do pretty well. The difference is, which boat do you want to be on the most? I know that there are going to be times when people rent 4 cabin boats and the Bella stays in port, but those are also weeks it's not getting beat up. Furthermore, I know that when I go out, I like to have an owner's cabin. I want to sit in this luxurious space, and I want to have some privacy with my wife. That's how I like to vacation. Whether it's my kids in the other cabin, my friends, or even somebody who won a contest like Gabe, I want to be by myself. Finally, there's the resale value. All of these amazing systems that we've installed on the Bella, the solar, the alternators, the batteries, the higher performance generator, those are all going to come back to me later when I go to sell the boat. I like playing with the toys, the radar, all these great things. I get to do that on the Bella. If that's not your thing, you can configure a boat how you want, and you can talk to Navigare and you can get exactly the boat you want and put it into charter for the amount of time you want to put it into charter. Our plan remains trading up. We want to get that 51. That's what we want to do in a couple of years. This is a vehicle to do that. Whatever you're thinking about doing, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I'd love to give you what little advice I can. I'd love to steer you towards good people who will be honest with you. So leave me a note. I'm happy to cover it in future episodes. In the coming weeks, we have a lot about the trip down to the Bahamas and beyond. We leave next Saturday. The weather looks good. Doing a lot with PredictWind. Going to cover that in the next episode. Again, thanks to everybody in the Navigare family. Congratulations, Gabe, Bobby. Really appreciated all the tips. Loved having you buy the boat. Thanks for participating in all that stuff. I want to thank Thomas at Lagoon Catamarans. You spent a long time with me. It's actually pronounced Tomas, but I didn't want to sound, that way. I want to thank Bruno from Beneteau for coming by and spending so much time with me. You were also very helpful. You offered a lot of insight. We'll be talking about all that in future episodes. I want to thank Harry and Jill for coming down with me, and Mike and Heather. You guys are all amazing. I can't wait to go sailing with you. And finally, I want to thank Annie. Annie, as always, you were amazing. You made the show fun. You were a super big help sailing that boat down afterwards. You're just the best.